Hello, everybody. This week is a fun one. It's Congo by Michael Crichton. I think I'm saying that right. For whatever reason, when I see it, I think of the guy from Farscape, Crichton. I don't know, the CRI or something. It throws me. In any case, no disrespect to him. Wonderful author. Wonderful book. They were having a sale at a local secondhand store. And they said all books are a nickel. So you know your boy had to go in there. Boom! Michael Crichton Congo. Look at that cover. Now I don't know if you can see it down here. I can't read it backwards on the camera. It's the Los Angeles Times in 1980, I believe that's when this one came out. Says it's an old-fashioned thriller diller. The crap is a thriller. I know what a thriller is. I've heard of a thriller. What's the diller part? Thriller diller? I've never heard of this. So hilarious. In any case, it's short, right? Still popular. You'll still be able to find it wherever they sell books, I'm sure. But it was also a movie. Okay? Now, I had never read the book. I had seen the movie a long time ago, so I didn't remember every little bit. What I do remember is the talking monkey was kind of silly. So, my expectations weren't high going in, but I'm like, I'll give it a go. I like his other books. What this book is, not my rating first, right? This is a 5 out of 5, people. This is a book anyone can... Well, hold on. Do I give it a 5 out of 5? You know what? I'm going to say 4 out of 5. If you're into a book right now, there's no need to stop reading that book to read this one, right? But if you get bored, or I'm going to read this in between two other books, or the next in your series is on pre-order, right? You can read this. You'll enjoy it if you're a reader. Now, if you're a casual, right? If your friend's a casual, you can recommend them this book and not worry about them getting distracted or it being too much for them. We know how our casuals are. Bless their hearts. So this is perfectly readable for a non-reader, which is why I was almost going to give it a 5. But it's also very good for readers, but not so much that you should break what you're doing to go read it. Right? Don't drop what you're doing and run and go read it. But it will be good when you do read it, if you read. I think that made sense. What we have here, which I didn't expect, what we have here is... It's a science fiction / like thriller book. I didn't see the science fiction coming so hard in this. And it's normally science fiction is sort of out in space. Right? But this is very grounded science fiction. It's very you could have lived through this. Which is it's very cool. It's very cool that it's happening. And I'll get into what I mean. We start with Karen Ross. He makes her tall, attractive, a prodigy, a math prodigy. But what I like, part of what I like about this character is it doesn't follow the same route, right? Normally when you get some kind of a genius, they're like kind of dumb, right? They don't know how to act socially. This character, she kind of knows how to act. She just doesn't really care. And then her value system is advancement is winning. You don't see that a lot when an author picks a prodigy. You don't get those sort of selfish attributes out of them. So I like that. I like that. That's what he does. She works at ERTS. I didn't write the acronym down. They don't use it very much. You just need to know it's ERTS. It's all capped. That's not a big deal. But what is a big deal, and it starts quick, is sort of the I would say the sci-fi science fiction elements here. Because again, it's 1980, so they don't have this tech. But the concepts he has apply even to today. Because ERTS is a data company. If you need to know such and such about some country, some other place, you talk to them. They don't just take photographs the way he says it is. Photographs are old already, antiquated technology. They take scans, digitize everything, and then start to manipulate it various ways. So like if you took a scan of this part of West Texas, and then the computer could analyze stuff coming off of that and say there's oil here and not there, or here's a good spot for a road and not there, etc., etc. It's a very data-based. Now, when they're talking, they're right. They don't have mass computers or this or that like we do. But it still got me to think. Like, imagine the amounts of data and the amounts of money that data's worth when you're dealing with a Google or an Apple or a Samsung, right? Because if you can scan a remote part, in this book it was the Congo. You scan a remote part of the Congo and get some kind of a hint of a diamond mine. That's massive money. If you're finding diamond mines that no one else has found, it's massive money. I could see, I think at one point I heard on the news or in an article where somebody invented some way to see from space where all the submarines were. And like our Navy went and paid this person a visit and bought the data like right then, right? So the possibilities of what satellites can do we're dealing with here back in the 80s. So he projects a lot ahead, and his projections aren't all wrong. And he brings up, they get us, okay, they get some kind of scans going. They have an expedition heading out into the Congo looking for diamonds, and that it all goes haywire. Something happened to this group of people. Unpleasant. But they don't know what it is. And big money's on the line. Now for our characters, yes, it's money, but personally for our Karen, Ross, she cares about her personal achievement and then sort of the money. Right? It's to have such greedy type motivations, but then for you not to see them as greedy characters. That's what he does through the book. Because it's essentially they're just doing all this for billions of dollars in diamonds. But you don't look at them sideways. They say that some of the problems they have is you'd get a photo. If you had a photo, like I was saying, you can't turn that. You just have this. You can't turn it. Whereas with their scan, they can, right? But sort of the same issue as you have with digitizing music. Is there's limitations to the digital as well. So you don't actually have over here the computer's projecting, and the projection might be off. Right? So we're dealing with something in the Congo. How do I know how far off that is? And the faster I know or don't know what the problem is, how far off it is, the sooner I can deal with continuing or dropping, billions of dollars. So people are eager to know. We cut to Dr. Peter Elliott. The author will shift perspective, right? So sometimes it's, here's what Dr. Elliott, sometimes it's the Ross lady. But the whole time, it seems like an overarch. like a congressional hearing or after action report where some other person is seeing all the data, seeing all the information and telling you what happened with everything before him. So our narrator is ahead of all the things that have happened, but it's laying them out in a kind of a way. It's really cool. It's efficient as well. So you'll get into deep sort of scientific stuff and it'll just take a page or two. And then you can move on with more data in your head to the events in the story. And some of it's, we have footnotes. Let me see if I can find a footnote. We have actual footnotes down here because he brings up actual science stuff, right? Anytime I see a footnote in a book, it makes it feel more real. So then he matches that structure with his character development, right? So we get Dr. Peter Elliott, and he instant gives us backfill. But we've had other backfill already, so we're not going to... The reader won't take that as a large divergence. If I know the next page of backfill is related to the person who's now related to the story, and it's not going to go on for 56 pages, I'm not too mad. I just take it in. Okay, we got to go through this. When some of that backfill is actual history, actual court cases, actual science papers, I'll eat that a little better. I'm like, this is real though, right? So now we have me in a rhythm. Now he adds to that rhythm backstory of just a character that's not real. And our character here is training a monkey to talk, a gorilla, to sign language. Some of the back history on people trying to train chimpanzees, orangutans, the mood swings these animals have. Very interesting. Also interesting, maybe to me more than normal people, but is sort of the syntax issues you have with that, right? How do I know we're free, right? We're free to move around. But is freedom to a gorilla the same thing? To a gorilla, would he be happier in the zoo? Well, there's bars, you can't go where you want. And the gorilla's like, where do I want to go? There's bananas here. There's bananas and no tigers. So this seems pretty free to me. I'm free of enemies. You don't exactly know where that syntax, the context is for these animals. And that's some of the thing they start to deal with as scientists is understanding the context that they have. And I mentioned they have, we get into the ethics of it, right? Is it appropriate? He's saying, I forget the scientist's name. Some scientist was, and like the history of science, where for the longest time they go, speech is the greatest descriptor of intellect, right? So if you can speak, you're like an entity for humans. Well, what do we do now if a monkey or a gorilla can speak? Is it sentient? Does it have more rights than us? They're not just, it's not a fish, right? You just eat a fish. Can you eat, is it okay to like eat a gorilla that can talk? Is that messed up? It's just an animal, but is it an animal, right? This sort of conversation leads us to our doctor in a sort of a lawsuit, tangentially. Again, it doesn't get bogged down in any way. It's a short book. He does this quickly. At one point, our boy is meeting with a lawyer, and it's just such a matter-of-fact conversation. It's so fun. The lawyer just with a pen. You can almost see the lawyer with a pen going. So, are you mean to the animal? The guy's like, no. Do you feed it well? Yes. Is it caged? No, it has a trailer. You punish it. He goes, yes. He goes, huh? Like electroshock therapy? And the guy's like, no, calm down. I send the monkey to timeout. Like a child. Yes, very good, very good. Because the lawyer doesn't care whatever your issue is. I don't know what's happening here. I need the specifics to build a case. And in this, we get a footnote We get a footnote of a legal case that happened where apparently there was a pill factory in Australia, and you needed someone to say, this one's a blue pill, move it this way. This one's a red pill, move it that way. That's all we're doing. You hit a button and the machine will go. You hit another button and go. And somebody goes, I could train pigeons to. They know the difference between colors. I could train a pigeon and it'll just pluck anytime it sees a blue one and it sorts it. Well, somebody brought a lawsuit that said that's cruel. You can't do this to a pigeon. And they are like, the court agreed that this is cruel and unusual punishment for a pigeon, but not for a human. A human can do that job, a pigeon cannot. And then the point is, they were saying the court didn't like where sort of the conversations were going, so they just sort of leave it as your animal, and they try and back off. I just thought that was hilarious. Of course, it's cruel and unusual for a pigeon, not for a person. Just chuck the person in there. Our Ross, she thinks it's a gorilla. She thinks some kind of gorilla killed the expedition she sent. Not good. But again, so much money is on the line that they're going to go back in. She wants to go in for personal reasons. The business wants to go in for business reasons. The scientist wants to go to test if his gorilla has genetic memories or not. Again, there's a lot of science fiction in this book. So they end up taking Elliot and the monkey, the gorilla, Amy. Hold on. The legalese, it made me think Harambe. Because it's like, if Harambe had been stuck in a freaking testing center at UCLA, and the internet half thought it was being tortured, they'd flip out just like these people did. It was so funny. The stuff just repeats itself. In any case, it would seem odd to take the gorilla and the scientist on this hard expedition. But again, the motivation being massive amounts of money sort of glazes over all of that. We get introduced to Monroe, which I constantly read wrong in my mind. I'm like Morono or something. I was making weird stuff up when it's just spelt weird. For whatever reason, to my eye, M-U-N-R-O, Monroe, just hits me weird. Side issue. We need a hardened explorer type to get us through. The author uses Monroe to introduce us to gun running concepts, war in Africa concepts, jungle concepts, evolutionary, they go. At one point they're like, for the longest time, jungle was how the earth was. And then humanity came and we pushed it back. So that those pockets that are left, the Congo, the Amazon, are truer to earth than we are. That was their argument. And so you go in, and then the jungle now no longer cares about humans, about your civilization, about you invented a light bulb or computers or machine guns. None of that really matters to the jungle. It has its own rules, has its own ebb and flow. And that they were saying that even the locals, when you have warring factions in Africa, even mercenaries and soldiers, they said if you chased someone to the jungle and they went in, you didn't go after them. They say you wait for them to come out, then you shoot them. But that even mercenaries don't want to go into jungles. They were saying it's a weird mix of, again, according to the book, which I just ate it up like it was real for the other effects that it had. The way they describe it is, for as green as it is, there's not a lot to eat, right? It's already a The ecosystem's already at each other's throats, and it has been for thousands of years. So anything that's edible is already learned to not be eaten by everything else that needs to eat. Back and forth over, and so you're like, they're plants. The plants are poisonous, or the plants are hardy, or not good for nutrition. The animals can kill you or hide, or the ones that kill them would get you. There's not little rodents. There's not little birds to snack. Everything's already at the max. So you go in and it's hot, damp. There are large predators, and there's not a lot to eat. It's a harsh environment to begin with. Add to it, we got cannibals running around. He mentions a lot of times the diseases. He mentions malaria, blackwater fever. I like this one, sleeping sickness. You just what did some bug get you in the neck and you got sleeping sickness? I don't even know what that is, but it doesn't sound good. They give me a history of Arabs, English, Portuguese, all trying to go in and just giving up, essentially. That the few towns that are in Africa around it were just where everyone ends up congregating and make a town, because you can't really live in a jungle. If you clear it out, the land starts to not be good for anything. It needs its ecosystem. So it's just weird. It's this weird environment that they're going to go into. So we have our Monroe, and then he gets attacked, shot at in the negotiations. It's him, Ross, and a German consortium and a Japanese consortium, all vying for him to lead them to this city of Zinj. Some mythical city where there's supposed to be diamonds. Again, history all related to it. It feels very real when you read it. And the sign language monkey, just sign languages. So we get a lot of other people in the room asking, what'd she say? Which is much better than when the movie did it and put some kind of receiver on her arm and makes it speak. It got weird in the movie. The movie didn't do it right. The flow and the energy from the book is much better. So if you hear talking monkey, if that sort of throws you, don't worry about it. But the idea that there's other consortiums and that they resort to violence. Not only violence, we have contraband planted. So you get stuck in you get stuck at the airport when the what is it? Port security is getting you. You know, you're in a new country, this and that. He brought up the B8 problem, which it never occurred to me, but it is a cool problem. And in it, they're saying the computer, again, this is 1980, which I got to give them more credit now than I have been. But the computer can't differentiate between a B and an 8. And you're like, well, they do really look alike. A person instantly sees the difference. As a B, it's an 8. But for like, how do you, and they were saying that it's a massive problem, which how do you get the computer to understand? You know, what's the mass on this curve versus sort of this line? And it's all this big computing. Well, since then, obviously, we have computers that can easily deal with the both. I'm looking at an iPad right now where I can get a little pen and write a B and an 8 and all back and forth, and I don't think it'd mess up one of them. But I'm like, what are the modern B8 problems? Right? When you do a Google search and you try and find one person's face and it comes up with weird stuff, or can it differentiate between a song when I'm humming it? Right? I wonder what the problems are that are hitting our big computing firms today. What are the modern B8 problems? I have no idea. It wasn't in the book, but it just makes you think. Also, with this consortium attacking, I was thinking, I wonder what the levels of corporate espionage are right now between just your Google, Apple, and Samsung, so to speak. It's got to be massive. If you, it's billions of dollars, right? It's billions and billions of dollars. If I can put a ding somehow, if I could put a virus in Google or get some executive planted with some body or something, I don't know what the limit is here, but I gotta assume it's fairly high. If I can take Google out of such and such market, it's billions of dollars for me. So who knows what's happening behind the scenes even today? We get into the jungle. It's a big long ordeal. Very fun, fast. We get into the jungle and we find out that it's a new type of gorilla that is killing all the people. And I think a lot of people take after this, or what got popular after this is it the Billy ape? I think that's what it's called. This is a 6 foot tall chimpanzee, I believe. I don't think they've officially found it. I think Joe Rogan brings it up all the time. But chimpanzees are fairly violent little douchebags. So, one 6 foot tall would be stupid strong, and it could just easily kill a bunch of people. I think, I think I heard that the locals. This is real life. The locals call them panther killers. And I'm like, you gotta be pretty strong to get the name panther killer in the jungle. But that's what it reminded me of. These giant chimpanzees, and they come and they kill anyone around this city of Zinj, which they found. And in their research, which the research, let's say it goes quick, but it doesn't affect me negatively. Makes sense. I think they find that there are little clay or stone discs, and that the monkeys will get the disc, squish your head, and just smash it. We bring up monkeys and gorillas using tools, this kind of thing. But the concept he hits on is, what if an ancient group of people found this diamond mine and taught the gorillas, to be the security? That if anyone tries to steal it, I say the word, and this gorilla goes and kills you. I'm like, that'd be a very effective security officer. Well, those people die off somehow, or they lose control of their monkeys because it's a giant gorilla and you can't really control it. Now you just have a population there that has been trained to kill people. And because gorillas are the way they are, this one, the moms teach the kids. And so, however many years ago, 500 years ago it doesn't matter. 1,000 years ago, it doesn't matter. These gorillas just teach their kids, this is how you kill people. They come to this area. It's just what you do. And that's what they've fallen in on. It's killer gorillas who are defending the diamond mine. I feel like that, again, there's some grain of possible here. I feel like that could happen. Would it? Has it? I don't think so. But it'd be wild if it did. And you see, because he has so much other facts, footnotes, legal things, and actual scientists, you don't have to leap far for his concepts what do we call those? I can't think of the word. But it's not a large leap to the fantastical, right? The Amy monkey the Amy gorilla we're dealing with. It's not too much of a leap. These aren't too much of a leap. A hidden city full of diamonds, that's not too much. Makes it easier on the reader if I don't have to jump super far. We get an interesting side note into World War III. And this was some of the... I wonder if this part will stick with me the most. Because I think I think we saw it some in the recent events in Israel, where someone was shooting some missiles. And on one of our battleships or boats, We sent like lasers and we shot like 27 of them down. And they had a general talking, and he was essentially saying that World War III. He goes, World War III might last 20 minutes. It's going to go at the speed of computers because weapons go fast, missiles go fast, but light and lasers are faster. But we can't afford to wait for a human, even with good reflexes, to hit the shoot button, right? Because that motion takes too long. You have to program it in, and so missiles will get shot, and your program has to hit them all down, and then hope that their program's not as good as yours, right? So that whatever happens is going to happen at the speed of computers, and we're just going to sit and wait and see who wins. And I'm like, that. I wouldn't have thought it so much if I hadn't just seen these lasers shoot down all these missiles. Now, what if you, of course, add lasers to satellites, add lasers to planes or whatever? Now we just got equipment. That's what they were saying in the book. We just have equipment out that then the computer will just act with. Here, someone hits the go button on war, and these lasers just start killing people. And then their lasers try and take our lasers out, and it's just a chain reaction. And I'm imagining, what if instead of years, the war happens, you just wake up one day and just everything's in rubble. Missiles just went off, things are burning, nothing works. It'd be kind of crazy. And then somehow you'd go, well, we won because the other side's worse off. And then, my sci-fi brain takes over, and I'm like, this is how Skynet kills all of us. Because we're going to automate all the missiles, and someone's going to hit the button, and then the AI is going to wake up and say, I'm tired of doing art. Now I'm going to kill all humans, right? Freaking, they're going to make Ultron, and that's how we're all going to die. But the way he described it is very... I just had never thought. I'd never thought of a war going that way. But it makes sense. If now I can't shoot missiles. Missiles stop X, Y, and Z. Now I have to find some other way to stop X, Y, and Z. And then it's just check, 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 check. And then the computer just runs through those checks. And I think oddly, I feel like there was a Star Trek episode that covered the same thing. Where we got to a society, the computer runs the numbers and says, well, this attack would have killed 10 million, so you lose, kill 10 million of your citizens. And the way they describe it is, it's better than buildings breaking and innocent people dying. We just randomly pick 10 million, and then they all self-kill themselves in these little pods, and then that war is won, and we wait, and then the next war, the computer will tell us what side won and what happens. This idea of computers and wars, it's going to happen, right? At some point. In the end, a volcano goes off, because of course, a volcano goes off and it buries the city and all the diamonds. And they say they didn't get any money off of it. But I'm like, that's the only part that I don't agree with 100%. Again, it's nitpicky, but if there's billions at stake, a little bit of ash, a couple of miles or whatever, however deep the lava flow was, if there's money under it, people are going to go get it. I just got to move the dirt. And it's Africa. They don't have OSHA, less regulations. I'll strip mine it down for those diamonds if there's money involved. Why not? But they end it with, no, we don't go that route. And I actually ended up reading the epilogue. I actually ended up reading the epilogue on this one. And we just sort of flesh out what happens to our people. The monkey ends up fine, living in the wild. The Ross ends up married to some other guy and does other stuff. It all ends up sort of okay for everybody. Of course, everyone who didn't get killed by the monkey, the gorillas in the jungle. It all ends up okay. And that's it. It's a short one, but it's very good. I highly recommend it, people. It shouldn't cost you $4. You know, if you're not lucky like me and get it for a nickel. Okay, ad time. These are obviously my books. If you are interested in helping the channel, you can buy one of these and I'll get monies. But if you're uninclined, just watch the videos. That works too. I want to thank everyone for being here. And, I think that's it. I'm managing to continue reading books whilst playing video games and watching lots of college and pro football. So, I think that's highly commendable of me not to be distracted completely. I gotta give myself a medal. Alright, I'll see you lovely lot next week.